Hi everyone, welcome to the Envelopes Emmy Contender Series. I'm Yvonne Villarreal. A lot of us have been sucked into This Is Us. Our guest today is Mandy Moore, who plays Rebecca, the matriarch of the Pearson family. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's like This Is Us Day here at the LA Times.
I know you just had Justin.
Just had Justin. You didn't run into him at all?
I did not run into him, but I saw on our social media channels that he was here.
That he was here?
My eldest.
How's the text chain going? What's been going on there?
It was up and running this morning early. I was really surprised.
Why? What was happening?
Because our creator and our big boss is on the big Hollywood Reporter 100
that's right.
list
Yeah.
at number 88, Dan Fogelman.
How's the ego there?
There is no ego, none whatsoever. He didn't even tell us. Of course, Milo, I think, was the one that was like, "Congratulations, Dan." None of us really knew. So there was a whole sort of back and forth with all of us at like 6 o'clock this morning, which I'm usually up at that hour, and I was very surprised that the rest of the cast.
Who's up the latest?
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't venture to guess. I was just surprised this morning that Sully and Sterling and Justin, Milo, like everybody was up and chatting.
Who's like the worst GIF user?
I don't know if I would probably claim to be, because I don't really know how to use them. I'm not like, Sully is the quickest with the GIF usage. Like he's right in there with but he's definitely the funniest of the group anyway.
Well, I was, trying to do some research again before you came on, and like, is it weird knowing that everything you say becomes a headline with this show?
Everything about the show?
Everything about the show.
Like everything I say definitely is not a headline.
Everything
about the show. It is strange, and I think it will be interesting. We go back to work in 3 weeks, or a little less than 3 weeks now, and I think the dynamic hopefully won't be any different, but I assume that there will be just a slight difference going in, obviously, to season 2 than season 1, and just sort of the goings-on behind the scenes. I have a feeling we're going to have to be a bit more cryptic and careful because, people tend to misconstrue things and blow things out of proportion. And
because the last thing that became a headline was, "We will see how Jack died" in the premiere.
Yeah,
we know this for sure.
Dan Fogelman said that. A couple weeks ago, we had a big event with the whole cast, and it was the first time we'd sort of been together with him since, my gosh, in months. And he alluded to the fact that by the end of the first episode, although I have not read a script yet, that more pieces of the puzzle, I don't think the whole picture will necessarily come into focus, but what he said that night was a big piece of the puzzle will be revealed in the season premiere.
How has it been navigating this sort of fandom and popularity as an adult versus when you were navigating it as a teen when you were singing?
It feels somewhat different to be a part of a project that is such a collective effort between, the writers and the cast and the crew. Like, it is so the machine that is what you can attribute the success of the show to. It has to do with so many different factors and factions of this machine. Whereas I think as a young person, especially in the music industry, even though there is definitely a whole machine behind the scenes as well, I felt like a little bit more exposed. I felt a little bit out sort of at the forefront on my own. And I really feel so comfortable in this point in my life and with this particular project that I'm able to really share with everyone in this sort of collective moment.
Because what do you think it'd be like for Mandy Moore to start out now as the music star in this era, with the Instagram, the Twitter?
I don't know if I have the constitution to withstand what it takes, I think, to make it nowadays. I have fun with social media just myself as an adult, but I think I'm really discerning of the line between sharing too much and knowing that my self-worth, my value doesn't come from the admiration that I sort of receive on social media, but I think that must be all too confusing as a young person, and I don't know if I would be able to understand all of that.
Well, talk about, I mean, we've talked about this before, but for people that don't know, talk about where you sort of were at in your career when this show came along. Were pretty much ready to throw in the towel and maybe go back to music.
Or do something else. Honestly,
yeah.
I didn't know. I mean, not to say woe is me as an actor. I completely understand how unbelievably lucky that I am to have made it at all, and to have, you know, carved out my own little niche. But when the show came along, you know, a year and a half ago, I had done 3 failed pilots that didn't come to fruition, and I had gone out for other pilots and other things that I didn't even get. And there's nothing worse than like submitting yourself for a project as an actor that you're like sort of lukewarm on anyway, and then you don't end up getting it. You're like, oh, I didn't even want that to begin with. What?
Right.
It's pretty soul crushing. So I was having a difficult side of my personal life. I was in a marriage that was going south, and subsequently, you know, in the midst of a divorce that was really acrimonious. And so life was not on a fun trajectory at that point. And this show sort of came about at a time in my life where I really was considering, like, should I go back to school and study something? Should I focus on music again? Should I become a mom? I really was
What would you have studied if you went back to school?
That's a good question. I have no idea. I have no idea. I at one point in my life was really interested in journalism, and not to knock it, but I just don't know if I'm cut out for journalism now, having been on the other side of it for a number of years. I don't know if I have that in my bones either. But so when this show came around, it was, man, just a real godsend. I remember thinking too, like, okay, I've been through like, you know, conventional pilot season for a number of years now, and that hasn't worked out. And sort of our plan as a group with like my folks was like, well, let's concentrate on all the other platforms, be it like, you know, Hulu and Amazon cable. Or cable, exactly. And then literally not more than 2 weeks after that conversation, the script for the Untitled Dan Fogelman project got emailed to me. And I remember thinking like, wow, this is the like antithesis of what we were just talking about. But I love Dan, and I had worked with him on Tangled. We didn't know each other super well, but I thought, you know what, he's a remarkable writer, and if my folks sent it to me, there must be something special here.
Yeah.
And they were right. I read it and instantly was like, what do I need to do to be a part of this?
Well, what were your first impressions of Rebecca? Because, you know, in the pilot, we don't get too much of her, though I know in the audition process you got a meaty scene to audition with that we saw in the second episode. But what were your initial impressions of her, and how did that evolve as the series continued?
I mean, my initial impressions were sort of what you see in the pilot. I was like, wow, well, this woman is a rock, and she's in this, you know, incredible relationship, and is really on the precipice of like the ultimate change. Like she's about to become a mother to triplets, and I thought that was really interesting. But beyond that, there wasn't a lot to sort of work with, other than the fact that, you know, she goes through the ultimate loss of losing a child, you know, during the course of her labor. But I didn't really know what to expect from there. The script really ended with a plethora of places for the story to go. I didn't even know at that point that, you know, if the show got picked up and moved forward, that we would be sort of moving around in not in sequential order, that we would be jumping around in time. Dan didn't, like, I didn't really know any of that until like May, when the show got picked up, and it was like, well, yeah, this is our, you know, ultimate idea for the show.
That's crazy.
So I didn't know. I remember when we were shooting, the shoot for the pilot was about 3 weeks, the first episode, and Milo and I shot the first 2 days, and then I was done. And I remember Dan, like, during those 2 days, came up, like, excitedly to talk to Milo and I about, like, some ideas that he had, and I was like, la, 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 I'm not listening to you because I don't want to get attached.
Did Milo put on clothes when Dan was talking to him?
Yes.
Okay.
Milo had clothes on.
Good.
Milo was, I mean, I can't even, like, begin with how much I love Milo, but I just remember thinking, we had just met each other, didn't know each other very well, had to pretend like we were this, you know, super loved up couple about to have a family
You've got
together.
like a prosthetic
and
like this.
I have a giant prosthetic on and giant prosthetic boobs, and I just remember thinking like, this is fantastic that the table has turned and it's not a woman who's completely naked or half naked. But I also remember thinking like, if I had that butt, I would show it too. But also like, he's so comfortable, like just in his skin.
Yeah.
Whether he's in clothes or not, like this is a man who just exudes confidence, who knows who he is. Like, he's a fundamentally like just good man. The way he treats people, and I saw it from like minute one. The way he would treat the crew. He was a gentleman with me. He was very respectful, and I was like, oh.
But tell us something bad about this
There's
guy.
nothing bad.
It has to be like
I'm telling you, I work with him just about every day for like 7 or 8 months, and we spend an inordinate amount of time together, and there is not like.
Is he ever cynical?
No.
Yeah.
No, he's not. He really is like, he is the patriarch of this family.
He'd be like a good coach, like a life coach.
Yeah, he's really good with the kids as well. I like sort of observe him and study him and the way he
How are you with the kids? How is the diapers?
The diapers, I haven't had to change a diaper.
Good.
See, the thing about having the babies and the like toddlers on set it's fantastic because you get just the best of both worlds. If they get fussy or they need a diaper changed, mom is like right off camera. You're like, here you go.
Yeah.
So it gives you a little bit of baby fever. Initially with the 8-year-olds, I don't have a lot of experience with kids or with babies, so.
How would you try to bond with them? What would you say?
I mean, we would all just like hang out with each other, and I just treated them as the little people. I don't think you're supposed to talk down to them.
No, but
and
like,
they're
what
so
are you
cool.
kids listening to these days?
Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to get into that side of it with them. But they're all genuinely good kids too, and they have great parents, and you can tell. Like, mom and dad are always around, but they sort of give them their space to like be cool kids, and I just remember like initially how excited they would get whenever there was like a scene where they got to eat. Like I remember too, once even later this season, I think it was like the 12th episode, where it's where Milo at the very end of the episode is showing us like the home video that he shot of me when I was pregnant with them.
Like,
and there was this like hard bowl of melted peppermints all together, and the kids were like trying to peel it apart and eat it, and it was clearly not even like a prop. It was something that had been there for God knows how long. And I was like, no, guys, you're gonna get sick.
Got into mom mode?
I got into mom mode. Yeah, I had to stop them from eating old dusty peppermints. Ugh.
How about, I love seeing like the family portraits that we see sprinkled throughout, like in picture frames. Was there a day of shooting those?
There are a lot of days.
Yeah?
Whenever there's like a free moment and they know they need something for like an upcoming episode, or they need it for like set decoration, they'll steal us and they're like, hey, there's a new shirt in your trailer, go change, and then we're going to take a picture, and this side of the lot or something. So there's a lot of those.
There's a lot of that.
Quick little moments, like right before lunch, we're going to try and get a picture of you guys in Easter clothes, or it's like, okay, sure,
fine.
Yeah.
Fine, whatever. We got a lot of questions from fans asking you if what the challenges were in playing a wife and a mom. Obviously, you sort of knew what it was like to be a wife.
I knew what it was like
to
be
the
a
mom
wife.
side.
I think that's what I was most concerned with taking on this role, because I don't have, a point of reference from my own life to sort of draw upon. But I want to be a mom, and I love my own mother, and I guess I would sort of look at my friends and how, my friends who have children, like how they are with their kids. But ultimately, I think the gift for all of us as actors with this particular project is so much is on the page. And I know everybody from our show says that, but it really is the truth. Like, our job is exponentially easier because the written word is just so fantastic. And beyond that, I don't know. There's a whole lot of fake in it.
Was there any hesitation about taking that step and playing a mom? Because so often you hear like the horror stories for actresses of they feel like their agents say like once you play a mom, it's all over or something like that. Did you have any of that?
Absolutely not. Not for a second. I'm so I'm 33. Like, I'm ready for that in my own life, and I hope there's no going back from here. Like, I'm ready to play a mother now for the rest of my days.
Well, we have
the best role ever.
We have Justin Hartley, who plays Kevin, your son, on the show, had a question that he submitted.
He did?
I probably won't say it the way he phrased it.
Okay.
But he wanted to know that if he got in the makeup chair and they aged him up, would you be open? And he's not playing Kevin as older. He's playing someone else.
This is an odd hypothetical, but go on.
There's a lot that goes into it.
Okay. He's aging up, and I'm aged up?
You're the 60-year-old.
Okay.
And he's aged up, but not playing Kevin. He's playing someone else. Would you ditch Miguel for him?
He hates Miguel. I'd
be open to it.
I'm going to say no, because I want to know the story. I want to know how Rebecca and Miguel find their way to one another. And I know it's nothing salacious. I know that it didn't happen under...
Were you asking Dan a lot of that?
I haven't specifically asked him the details. And I know that things sort of change along the way. But myself and John Huertas, who plays Miguel, we've sort of come up with our own idea. You have to as an actor. It's like we need to sort of know, before episode 2, just the, vague trajectory of how they ended up together. And we're both on the same page with that.
What page is that?
Well, I can't tell you. It's not, because I'm not sure if it's going to exactly line up with Dan and the writer's vision.
Have you shared it with Dan?
I haven't.
No?
But I will. I know that Milo and I are supposed to go in and have a big meeting about what the arc of the season is for us in a week or so. So when I'm with him next, I'll be sure to tell him. But I've heard rumors that the Miguel-Rebecca story is probably not going to unfold until season 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, that's something.
That's something? Yeah.
How has your mom warmed up? I remember we last talked, you said she was Team Jack, but this was before she watched
the finale. I think my parents have come around.
Yeah.
And I don't feel the need to be as defensive about my character's decisions with my own parents, which is so odd.
What did your mom have a problem with?
Both my parents took real issue with the timing in which there's an episode 14 or 13 where Jack sort of makes this grand gesture and takes us back to the apartment that we first lived in together before we bought our house, with the lights and a romantic sort of picnic and a bath and blah, 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 and whatever else happened. And it was in that moment afterwards where we talked about our wedding vows and stuff that Rebecca tells him that she's been approached to go on tour and she really wants to. And my parents both took real issue with the timing and how that unfolded. And I was like, but don't you understand that it was only because she felt comfortable enough in that moment and she knew how solid their relationship was and how loved she was and understood that she felt comfortable enough to really be vulnerable and say I know I haven't lived this side of my life in most of my adult years, but it's something that I need to do and I want to explore, and can you tell me that it's okay? After I explained it a little bit like that, they kind of understood, but they still kept going back to, yeah, but that was really terrible timing. I'm like, oh, okay, well, this conversation's over.
Do you and your mom talk a lot about Rebecca, just in terms of do you go to her to try to understand some of the decision making? What would you have done, or do you think about it in that way?
No, I haven't. I've talked with some other women in my life about that who are mothers, and it's interesting. It's a pretty mixed bag. I would say it's kind of 50-50 of people that agree with the choices that she's made and then people who don't agree with them. And I understand both sides of the coin too.
How was it filming that epic fight?
It was, as an actor, it was such a fun challenge. And Milo and I were I wouldn't say we were preparing for it, but Dan told us before we started shooting the season that that's how he wanted to end the season. So I knew that it was coming. We both knew it was coming. We didn't know how, and we didn't know like the specifics or how it would sort of unfold. I didn't know that it would have anything to do with like him drinking and at a show, and that didn't come till later. But I always I admire that, you know, in spite of this crazy success that the show has found, that all of us have been flabbergasted by, that Dan didn't deviate from his original plan. Like, this is what he always wanted to do. This is how he wanted to end the season. And I love that he stuck to his guns. And in spite of people saying, like, you know, we want to know how Jack dies and whatever else was sort of being, you know, sort of talked about out on the interweb, that we really, we sort of kept our head down and kept plowing along and ended the show that way. But I will say the fight was, Milo and I got together like the weekend before we shot it and just read it a little bit at his house, and I was embarrassed because I'm like, oh, people are gonna think you're having some like domestic like disturbance, and I felt really bad because we really went for it. And then we we just read through it a couple more times together, and then the day before we shot it, Milo, myself, Ken Olin, our director, and Yasu, who's our DP, and our camera department went and we like choreographed it because Dan had written it and wanted it to be an all-in-one take and one shot. And so we had to sort of know where the camera, because it was like a dance. We had to know where the cameras were going and where we were going to go and where it looked best and it didn't feel weird to move or not move. So once we sort of worked that out, we got there the next day, and I remember we shot the end of the scene first, the end of the episode first.
Where he leaves?
Where he leaves.
Yeah.
Which was really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And then we went and shot the fight after that. And it was really intense. It got super heated.
I was gonna, because
Milo and I like said the F word to each other on more than one occasion.
F word, but I guess they took that out, right?
I guess you can't show that on network TV.
Can't show that.
Damn, we're not on cable, but we did. I got it in his face and I said it, and then he got in my face and said it. It was crazy.
Did you feel like hot? Like, did you feel like too much?
There were a couple that had too much heat on them, and then maybe a couple that weren't enough, and then I guess they sort of found sort of right in the middle. But it was just
some intense things to each other.
Yeah, stuff that like you can't take back, that you won't forget. And I think it's why ultimately, you know, they need to sort of take a step back from one another.
Justin thinks it's not that bad and that they can work it out.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I do.
We have Fella on Facebook. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. What was your favorite episode so far?
I come back to episode 5 a lot with the Steelers because I love knowing
your backstory a little bit?
A little bit, that Rebecca was really hesitant and scared to become a mother. And I love this symbolism in Justin's like explanation of the painting and what it means. Like, it makes me emotional to think about, which is so crazy that like just the sense memory of that like scene. Oh, I feel like it's a really strong like metaphor for what the show is. And oh my God, come on, Mandy, get it together.
We'll fan you.
And I thought it was the revelation that Jack's not alive in the present day, like all of it. I feel like our show really like found its groove in that episode.
We've got a question from Amy K on Twitter.
Amy K, wow, that doesn't sound remotely familiar. Okay.
When you miss your friends or boyfriend, do you ever text them, "I'm missing you like candy"?
Oh my gosh. I can safely say I've never done that.
Do you still have the headphones and the Walkman?
The Sony Psych?
Yeah.
I wish.
I wanted one so bad after that video.
They gave me the prototype from the photo shoot, I remember, and I would like crossbody it.
No.
I remember like walking down the streets of New York with the headphones and it like slung across like a crossbody purse on me. The dorkiest thing ever.
Did you ever own a Volkswagen Beetle?
I didn't.
No?
No, but I've met people like out in the ether who are like, I bought a Volkswagen Beetle because of that music video. So you're welcome, Volkswagen.
Has the show like at all made you want to go back into singing, seeing Rebecca like find it and...
Yeah.
And do you think about, like, have you been inspired to write at all, even about, like, the experience of This Is Us, like, where you're at?
Sure, how my life has changed? Yeah, absolutely. It's weird because so much, like, it's daunting to me because the music industry has changed. It's unrecognizable to me, even from when I last put out a record 8 or 9 years ago. And because I don't have, like, a record label or a manager, like, I'm using that as an excuse to not figure out how to get it started again. And I know it just starts with the music, and I have the music, so I gotta motivate somehow.
Do you want to share some of it?
Yes, right here, right now, with you guys.
You have an exclusive?
I have a lot. I have a number of songs. I have material, and I think I'll probably figure out how to, like, do an EP or something first, and just gauge if there's any excitement about it, and then we can proceed from there.
I think there will be some excitement. We have a lot of questions about when the last time was that you watched A Walk to Remember. I know you, like, had that reunion.
I went out and had dinner with Shane and Adam Shankman a couple months ago, right around the time of the 15th anniversary,
which is insane.
It's insane. All of us were like, it is depressing. We're like, what?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it in a long time. Years and years. I can't even remember the last time.
My friends and I still, like, I have a friend that will reenact the tattoo moments on cue. I'll send you a video.
Please.
But it's amazing. Do you have a favorite scene from that?
Do I have a favorite scene? Oh my gosh. It's been so long I don't even remember
Don't remember it?
It's so hard to remember. No, I don't have a favorite scene.
How about we also have variations of this question, but about the relationship that Rebecca has with her kids as adults. Like, we see there's some tension with Kate, and obviously there was tension with Randall. And what's it like seeing where things progress, where they end up?
I think I'm most excited about the potential to explore the Rebecca and Kate relationship. I really want to know why they're so disconnected, and with Kevin as well. Like, why her 2 biological children moved out to Los Angeles, and she is seemingly really, like, they have a fractured relationship, and she's much, much closer with Randall and his family, and obviously, you know, geographically they live closer, but I want to know the Kate and Rebecca story is what is most fascinating to me, and potentially getting to sing with Chrissy.
Oh my God,
you know,
that'd be amazing.
Like, figuring out how they can mend this relationship through music or something would be cool.
I also want to ask about 47 Meters Down.
Oh, okay.
Because that freaked me out. I have a fear of the sea, like a deep fear.
Yeah?
Like, deep fear.
Well, then maybe you need to go diving.
No.
Yeah.
No. You filmed this before This Is Us?
I did, 2 years ago.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
One, I guess, like, would you have been as hesitant as your character was, or would you have been gung-ho about it?
I mean, I would have been gung-ho at the idea of the adventure, but once I saw that rickety boat and the
that's
cage...
what I didn't understand.
No.
I was like, why are you guys going in there?
Because it's a movie.
Insane.
No one in their right mind
No
would
one
do
in
that.
their right mind would do it.
But I'm totally down for the adventure. I think I somehow managed to convince Claire that, like, if we ever found ourselves in a tropical, like, vacation together, we would do it. I would totally do it.
All because a guy, your boyfriend or ex-boyfriend, told you were boring.
Yeah.
All because of that.
Well, I think maybe she felt that she was boring and wanted to prove to herself more so than to him.
What was it like filming? Because you filmed underwater.
Filmed all underwater. 95% of the movie is underwater. It was an odd experience, to say the least. It was weird because so much we would shoot. We would go down with a full tank of air, and then we wouldn't surface again until our air was almost up. So that meant we were staying underwater for an hour, sometimes an hour and 15 minutes at a time. So you got really good at, like, conserving your energy, because it takes so much, you exert so much more energy underwater than you realize, and the majority of what we were doing was hyperventilating and screaming and swimming around and making, like, fast movements and everything you're not supposed to do when you're diving. So when we weren't shooting, Claire and I were really quiet, and we just like sort of sat there and like floated in the water, and I don't know, I was just in my head a lot and trying to like remain calm. And it's also so loud. You have this mask on. It's 20 pounds. You have 20 pounds of like your BCD in the tank, and all you hear is like it's odd.
Did you have to sign like a lot of insurance forms?
Oh yeah. We had a almost 3-hour insurance physical. We had to go to multiple doctors and do like a
Did that make you
echocardiogram.
nervous?
Kind of. I was like, oh, this has never been done before.
Yeah.
We're guinea pigs essentially here. Yeah, that was odd. But, you know, I was at a point in my life where I was like, I need to go underwater for 8 weeks and ignore the rest of what's happening in my life.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Which of your This Is Us castmates would you want under there? Who's most likely to get you out alive?
Milo, obviously.
Milo, right?
I mean, Milo or Sterling.
Sterling
Sterling
would be
is
good.
like a survival list or something.
Yeah.
You know, he's I would definitely depend on him too.
Okay. Well, let's get to our lightning round set of questions.
Lightning
if you're
round.
ready.
Okay.
Take that sip.
Yep.
Last show you binge watched?
Silicon Valley.
Oh, nice. If you could go back and be on any classic show, what would it be?
Mary Tyler Moore.
What was your first acting job, and what did you learn that you are still using now?
My first acting job was a Kmart Christmas commercial, and I don't think I learned anything. Other than like maybe acting surprise. Like,
What did you? That's what you had
I
to
remember
do.
we ran down the stairs and like saw the tree, and we're so excited about all the presents underneath. Which, come on, as like a 12-year-old, is not that difficult to do.
What were you doing?
I don't know. I was just telling myself like, remember Christmas morning and how excited you are with all the presents under the tree.
Candy was your breakout hit. What's your favorite 90s pop song that you could sing for us right now?
Well, I'm not gonna.
You're not
sing
going to,
it.
but no, but that you could.
I Want It That Way by the Backstreet Boys.
Do you have a memory attached to it?
My memory. No, I remember hearing it for the first time on the radio, like in the car in Orlando, and I was in the midst of recording my first record, and I just remember thinking like, I've never heard a song this good before. It just blew my mind. Yeah, it blew my. And then I bought the CD single. Remember when CD singles were a thing?
Yes.
And I put it on my Sony Psych. I strapped myself in. It was the best.
Love that. Based off your dog's personality,
Uh-huh.
what TV character do they resemble most?
Gosh, that's so difficult.
I didn't come up with this one.
That's a good question. I don't know. I have 2 dogs, and they're both the best, but they're kind of crazy. I don't know. I'm gonna have a think on that.
Think
and
on that one?
I'll put the answer on social media or something.
What movie didn't you sing in that you wish you had?
I think there's a legion of people out there who are like, Mandy sings in enough of her projects, as if like I only sign up for things where I can sing in, or that I request to sing in them. I'm like, no.
Right.
So I think I've tortured people enough. There's enough singing out there.
And so, This Is Us renewed for 2 more seasons already.
Yes.
Are you excited for the Super Bowl episode?
Yes.
Do you know if you'll get tickets?
I think we're all putting in like the big ask for them. I'm not even a huge football fan, although it would be, incredible if the Steelers went to the Super Bowl. It would be very serendipitous. But yeah, I want to go to the Super Bowl. I've never been. It would be amazing.
Are you guys going to have any tweeting parties this time around?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think we'll get together. The thing that is most difficult is we start shooting in just a few weeks, and once we start going, we won't stop until we're done shooting the whole season in March. So most of us, someone's working during, whenever the episodes air. So a lot of times we'll have to try and do it when we're at work, but it's that makes it a bit more challenging.
It's a good problem to have, though.
It is a quality problem, yes.
Well, thanks so much for joining us,
Thank you
Mandy.
for having
It's been
me.
a pleasure.
Likewise.
And for all of you, if you want to check out more of our Emmy contender chats, head over to ellitimes.com. Thanks.